Boker Tov, good morning. Today is Friday, November 5th, Erev Shabbat, Parshat Toldot. I've had conversations more than once, and you probably have as well, especially with individuals who lost a parent at a relatively young age. And the conversations, at some point, there'll be a pause, or someone will actually, catch me and say, I reached the age of my father who, let's say, died tragically of a heart attack in a very young age, or who knows what circumstances might be. And I want to understand what that means to them, and there's a sense of their own mortality that is quite palpable. It doesn't mean that it's paralyzing sense, not at all, but an awareness that wow, I'm living beyond the length of life that my father or my mother had lived. I bring this up in the context of a comment that is made in the Gemara. It's quoting Rabbi Yeshua ben Karcha, and actually the Midrash, on these words. When Yitzchak calls to Esav and tells him that he wants to give him a bracha, he introduces it this way. Vayomer, I'll read the opening verse first. Verse 27, chapter 27, verses 1 and 2. And yeah, right. Vayihi ki zaken Yitzchak, and it was that when Yitzchak zaken, when he was old, or grew old, Vatichena einav meraot, and his eyes had dimmed from seeing. Each of those phrases is rich for interpretation. Vayikrat Esav beno gadol, he called Esav his older son. Vayomer elav beni, vayomer elav hineni, he said, my son, and he said, here am I. Vayomer hinena zakanti, he said, look, I have grown old. Lo yadati yom moti, I don't know when I'm going to die. I don't know the day of my die. And so he asked him to go bring him victuals, and he'll give him the bracha. What does that mean to say that he has grown old? Well, he's not a young man. He is 121. He's 121. 123. Okay, that's not young. The fact is, though, that Yitzchak is going to live 20 more years. So, he's old, and he says, I don't know, I'm going to die. So what is, but yet he's not on death's door. So what does it mean in that situation? So some interpret this really to relate to the experience that he has. It's a very significant radak talking about how people age, what usually happens when people grow older, and that some of their basic sensory skills diminish. Their hearing starts to fail them, and their vision starts to fail them. They start to have difficulty seeing, and so when he starts having that challenge, well, that's zikna, isn't it? But so for many people, that happens shortly before, in a brief period of time before they might pass. For him, it's a whole phase. It's gonna have at least 20 years of having challenging eyesight. We all know, what that can be like, and many different reasons why people's eyesight might fail them. You can look in your own family and know that, or talk to doctors and understand that too. So it's sort of an assessment of the previous verse, or that he had become old and his eyes grew dim, kind of go together. He almost concludes from the mouth, if my eyes are dim, then it must be that I'm on close to my death, and he's wrong about that interpretation. I want to quote you the Rashi, specifically on Lo Yadati Yom Moti. I do not know the day of my death. Quoting Rabbi Yeshua ben Karcha, Imagia Adam leferek avotav, if someone arrives at the appointed time of their parents when they died, Yid'ag chamesh shanim lifnehem chamesh la'achar kain. You should be cautious, worried, whatever the yid'ag means. 5 years prior and 5 years after. You got to presume that whatever their lifespan was, you're going to be somewhere in the same average lifespan, give or take 5 years. I don't know what after 5 years means. If you made it, well, we'll see it, right? In this case, Yitzchak Haya ben Kufchav Gimel, he was 123, and he said, well, Avram lives significant past there, but the Torah told us at the beginning of Barshas Chayesara that Sarah lives right 127 years. So he's 123, and he says, okay, I'm within range. Shema leperk imi ani magia v'hi meta bat kufchav zayin v'reini ben chamesh shanim samuch leperka. She died at 127. Maybe it's my mother's lifespan that I'm supposed to be connected to. Lefikach lo yadati yom moti. That's why I don't know the day of my death when I say that. Shema leperk imi, shema leperk abba. I don't know whether I'm supposed to be linked to his or to hers. And you think that's coming in your DNA lifespan. People certainly know that if they've had lots of relatives who live well past 100, they kind of feel that okay, I've got in my genes that I'm going to have longevity. And people who have family that died young, you fear that that's what's going to happen to you. But we all know there's so many factors that go into it. And so what happens after 5 years? So if you get past the 5 year mark after the age of death of a parent, so I don't know. It sounds like you stop being worried. You stop being worried because obviously you're not living their fate. You're not living their fate. And that's, of course, and it raises a question when he says you should doeg, you should worry. Is it you should worry because this is how nature is, or this is how God runs the world, or that's a presumption that is not unreasonable, but it cannot be controlling. It cannot be controlling. And what does it mean you doeg? You're anxious. Does that mean you walk around just with the trepidation? That's not what this story is about, is it? Yitzchak says, okay, I know I'm not going to live forever. Perhaps my time is soon. It's again not, thankfully for him. But he decides I need to take care of the things that matter in life, because every day is precious. I realize that now. Every day is precious. So I need to take care of the things that matter. In this case, ensuring the blessings, however much we can analyze for the decision to give it to Esav over Yaakov. That, my friends, is a very worthwhile thing for us to all be mindful of. We shouldn't have to think about the date of our parents' death or our own death to simply note that life doesn't last forever, and that now is the time for us to do the important things. And there's so much important work, not just getting a house in order, but so much important work that each of us is meant to do in life. So I think that's a call. That's a message that emerges from this midrash quote, Rashi quotes, embedded somewhere in these words of Yitzchak, and for us to think about not about our mortality, but how precious our lives are and life is, and to use each day to its fullest, and to ensure that the most important things that we care about are addressed and cared for, and indeed given the fullest attention on our part. And we should all be zoche. We should all merit a length of time far beyond 120 for each of us. But each day, hold it tight and do what matters this day and every one. Have a Shabbat Shalom.